Hello everyone, Railgan here again. It has been a while, but I've been streaming Starcraft 2 lately, and I want to show you guys a game that I played against the Grandmaster Lucifer from the clan Star. And the reason I want to show you guys this game is because I go for Swarmhosts. Now, Swarmhosts are usually used very aggressively, like we build a lot of Swarmhosts, especially against Mech Terran, and then we just all in our opponent with them and hope that, well, we can kill him, right? We build like 20 Swarmhosts and then attack with Swarmhosts and Roach Ravager, all that kind of stuff. I wanted to use Swarmhosts as a harassment tool because they are fairly cheap. They do cost a lot of supply though, and they have a long downtime. So I figured I need something to get into a position where I can use Swarmhosts efficiently, and then I want to harass with them, because I remembered a game, or rather a strategy that I often used in King's Age on Station, where I would go for a lot of Swarmhosts and try to harass my opponent as best as I can. Had like the Swarmhosts positioned next to his main like this, and then the Locust would fly in and immediately the mineral line, because it was more in a position like here. So this game I'm going for my Roach opener. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you probably know the free Roach opener. My opponent is going to scout the Roach one, I believe, so I don't think I'm going to build any Roaches this game, or maybe one or two. But we're going to see. No, I remember my opponent actually goes for something very peculiar in this game as well. I'm splitting up my links to avoid the Reaper. Never know where the Reaper quite is going, but my Overlord scouted him. My opponent lost his SCV in my main base. I have my main base saturated, and I'm now beginning the saturation of my natural. Lost one of my links right there. The other link, however, does go in, and because my opponent went for a double Reaper opener, he doesn't have anything at home to defend against the Ling, and my Ling does get a little bit of damage done, or well, at least harass a little bit. However, these Reapers are going to be very annoying. I'm building 2 Roaches right now because 2 Roaches can 2-shot a Reaper. I did not notice that the Reapers went to my main base, so my Roaches are going to the natural right now, completely out of position. I think it's going to get 1 or 2 drone kills right here. A little bit unfortunate, but yeah, it gets 1 drone kill, it denies mining time. It's just an all-around bad situation that that I would prefer not to have happened. My Queen has 35 energy. I also missed an in check. That drone wasn't mining for a while, didn't mine gas. But yeah, stuff like that happens. This Queen didn't inject either, so I'm getting a little bit thrown off by his Reapers here. Moving my Roaches around because I suspect that he will jump into my main base there, as I saw the Reapers leave along this south. But once again they get into my main base. But on my opponent's side of the map we see a 1-1-1 opener, 1 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport, bunker in the main base, so he's kind of defensively positioned. He doesn't really know how many Roaches I'm building or if I'm sending them across the map. Finally I'm able to clean up the Reapers here. Did lose 2 workers total. I think this Reaper is also going to die. Yep, nice. So I get at least a little bit ahead in that regard. Now my opponent is playing very defensive with Marine Cyclone. I think he's going to go for a double Cyclone drop here. Kind of common as well. It's good to snipe Overlords that I have positioned around the map, and overall it's kind of annoying to deal with. Here's actually a fun fact. He pulls this SCV to kill the Marine. I think does this Overlord, this Overseer sadly dies. But he's never going to finish that depot because this SCV is just standing around and he doesn't actually notice anything. At home, I'm going for a 2-base Spire opener, taking my 3rd base, pulling my Overlords home, kinda slowly, because the Cyclones would snipe my Overlords, so I'm trying to save them as best as I can. I think he's going up for he will go for a follow-up Viking, there it is, so he will kill this Overlord. A little bit special that he opens with a double Cyclone drop into a follow-up Overlord Viking, because I mean the Cyclones can also snipe the Overlords. The Viking doesn't really help him too much. So I was a little bit confused by that. But drone count wise I'm doing pretty good. Now that I have my main and natural saturated, I'm beginning to build Roaches, because I don't want to die to the Medivac. And I know I talked about going for Swarmhost in this game, but guys, we need to see the entire plan, how we get there, right? If we get into the position where we already have the Swarmhosts out, it's of course easy. Once my Mutalisk pop, I'm building 2 evolution chambers in my main base. I also got roach speed, of course, once my lair was done. Sniping the double cyclone. And now I'm morphing some Ravagers offensively, I believe. I'm not actually sure if I do that. I could all... no, I think I just sent the roaches home because he has 2 tanks. If we wouldn't have had these 2 tanks here, I probably would have morphed some Ravagers and tried to harass, at least kill the depot wall. That was good and nice free damage. My Mutalisks are doing a little bit of harassment. They killed 2 workers thus far. So not too much. But what the Mutalisks also did is, first of all, kill the Medivac with the double cyclone, which is quite expensive. And they also forced my opponent to play a little bit defensive around my Mutalisks. Here I noticed I didn't finish the depot. He might actually finish it now, because I think now he's gonna notice. But I'm just trying to do a little bit of harassment. And we have to rewind a little bit. Right. So here my Mutalisks are going for the harassment. And as soon as I have my main, natural and fur base saturated, 8 more drones are coming, then my fur base will be saturated as well. I throw down the infestation pit and I'm gonna get the burrow upgrade as well. Because I like to use the F2 button a lot. And if you want to use the F2 button, it's very important to have burrow for the Swarmhosts. We are going to see why very shortly. It's going to be a wild engagement because my Terran opponent has a very strong army. He's also adding upgrades, already having 1-1 done, while mine is only halfway on the way. So if you were to push across the map right now, it would be a very strong timing. But it can be hard for the opponent to push across because he also has to secure his third base and get all that stuff done. So I built 11 Swarmhosts this game, because that's kind of what I had gas for. I also built 2 Infestors. Infestors and Swarmhosts both require the Infestation Pit as tech, so it's very easy for me to combine both of them. Then I started producing Master Roaches, and now here we see it. So what I usually do is I spawn the Locusts, and then I immediately burrow the Swarmhosts. Now I'm going in for the fight. We have to rewind a little bit and look at this from my Terran opponent's perspective, right? Because, let me see, he's gonna scan here. There we go. So what does my opponent scan? He scans that I have roaches and he does see 1 Swarmhost. Now I'm curious, does he actually look at that Swarmhost? Because I don't know. Wait, sorry, I was too fast. See? No, he doesn't. He just checks quickly and then he goes across the map. So my Terran opponent does not know that I have Swarmhosts. I also pulled the Swarmhosts to the left and Infestors to the left side to not show him that I have the Swarmhosts. I have some Ravagers as well. Usually you want 3 Ravagers to pile down the tanks. I got a 4th base and I'm on 71 workers right now, so I have a very strong worker count. And I just need to somehow stop this push. And here we're going to see a miracle happen. Because this is a very strong push, right, with 5 tanks. But my 1-1 is about to be finished. Just now the 1-1 upgrade finishes. I go into the fight, I land some insane funnels, and I'm going all the way inside. And I clean up my opponent's army as best as I can. Funneling the tanks on the low ground, sending the units to the bottom, burrowing my Infestors as well. And just doing as much damage as I can. I clean up all of his tanks, and just like that, I'm in a very strong position. Units lost wise, we are kind of even. I lost 900 resources less than him, but it's not as big of an advantage as I've seen in different games. Once again, Swarmhosts go in, drop their Locusts, and they burrow. And now here the game gets very tough for my opponent because he somehow has to deal with these Locusts. I have roaches and locusts attacking him at the bottom. I'm going into his worker line. And my opponent is just all around having a bad time. I'm now getting link speed at home so I can make that transition happen. I should get my 2-2 upgrades. But I was kind of overjoyed in this situation. Whereas I put my opponent back on 2 bases, I'm up 100 supply. And I didn't really think to start the upgrades immediately. I just wanted to go in there and do as much damage as I can. Files a complete miss. Burrow the Infestor still running around, checking if he has the other base. You never know, like sometimes the Terrans just have bases that you do not know about. A good fungal on all of his units, doing massive damage to them, and I clean him up. This is only one game that I played like this. I also had games where my opponent didn't attack into me, where I would just walk Infestors across the map like here and then burrow and send Locusts in here while I put pressure on him at the front with Roach Ravager and maybe Mutalisks in the main base. There are many different ways to use this strategy, but I don't know, I have to say I kinda liked it. I also have the Infestation Pit, so I can go for a quick hive into fire with Broodlords maybe. I have a lot of options for the follow-up. Could also add Banelings to the mix, of course. Banelings and Locusts usually mix quite well. So I hope you enjoyed this strategy, and I want to thank you all for watching. Have a good day.